Okay, hi. All right, so we are now going to talk quickly about the freeze response. The freeze response is probably my number one that I go to. It's the most dominant of the four within my personality. The freeze response is normally developed in children, and this is because there was no option to fight back and there was no option to flee. Neither of those were available. So what we learn to do is to freeze instead. In my case, what it looked like, I was told after, was that I had checked out, that I wasn't actually there anymore. And it is the brain's way of surviving a traumatic experience. This is why I have said in past videos that there are huge chunks of my childhood that I have no recollection of, that were spoken about later on in my life, where I would vaguely remember bits and pieces of it, but there's a lot that I don't actually remember. And the freeze response, just like all the other trauma responses, is there to protect you. So you have this severe disassociation. You're not really entirely sure what's going on, what's being said, what's happening. You're not plugged in as such. What that means is you get tired a lot quicker than most people. You need to have lots of little naps. I have found that for me in my days, particularly when I am feeling emotionally overloaded, that it feels like a need, that I have to go and lie down for 30 to 40 minutes. You know, it's been coined little cat naps, but I find that it's just become so overwhelming that until I have those 30 to 40 minutes, I can't function. I mean, I can go through the motions and I can put one foot in front of the other, but I can't function with my day. And so I know when I'm going through a very intense emotional time, it's because I need to sleep a lot. And I know that when I am feeling stronger, because then I don't need to have those naps. Looking for escapism, like watching TV, binge watching Netflix, reading books, playing video games, anything that allows the brain to escape gently, kind of get pulled in gently, is the freeze response. And so when that happens and when that comes over me, all it does for me now is tell me that there is something that I need to deal with, that there is something that is needing my attention. And you really have to be extremely gentle with yourself if this is one of your trauma responses. In all of them, you need to deal with yourself gently, with kindness, with love, with compassion. But I find that people who have this as their main form of survival needs to be treated gently, like you would a child. Exactly like you would a child. You need to be kind and soft. Speak to yourself softly. Validate yourself. Validate the emotions that are coming up, because the freeze response has also been coined as the abandoned child. And so the lost child, lost either via memory or just that you had to grow up really, really quickly to survive. It's so good to just be gentle with yourself, just be honest to yourself. I'm having an emotional flashback. It has taken me to this point where I need to deal with something that has come up. Something has triggered in my day-to-day activities. Something has triggered something emotionally for me that I need to look at, I need to address so that I can heal from it. build a relationship with yourself. You need to discover who you are, what you're about, and build that relationship with you. The problem is that your relationships, particularly your foundational relationships, were so scary and so traumatizing that fear and people are synonymous. It is scary to have a relationship with people. It is scary to have a relationship with yourself because you have such a loud inner critic telling you all the time how wrong you are, how bad you are. My very loud inner critic is my stepfather, who would repeatedly say that everything that was wrong was because of me. He would pick me up in the middle of the night under my arms while I'm fast asleep and lift me up and make me stand on my bed while they were fighting and screaming and shouting, because how dare I sleep soundly and peacefully while they were fighting. And I would be exhausted, and I would stand on my bed and I would listen to the screaming and the shouting, and 9 times out of 10 it was about how horrible I am. I would crumple on my bed and I'd fall asleep, and he'd come in and whoop me up again, and this would happen repeatedly. So people are scary. And what we tend to do is, because of that belief, we isolate ourselves. We isolate ourselves from people. We don't enter in relationships because we have no idea how to, and we are petrified that this person is just going to let us down, disappoint us, hurt us, and ultimately abandon us as we were abandoned as children. So what we do is we shun close connections. We shun relationships that could be potentially warm, loving, fulfilling relationships. I am married. I have 4 children. I have the most amazing husband. I have the most wonderful children. I have friendships, and my journey is to teach you my skills that helps you come out from that place of fear and abandonment, and to just ultimately stop abandoning ourselves and to quieten down that voice of that loud inner critic, because they are lies and we need to stop believing them. All right, last one I'm going to explain to you is the fawn response. It's coming up next.